You know, humanity has always been on this crazy quest for better energy. I mean, from the very first fire all the way to our massive power grids, it's just a story of nonstop innovation. And today, that story is unfolding right on our rooftops and across these huge solar farms all over the world. So today, we're going to go deep, right inside the solar panel, to uncover the incredible science that's just shattering the limits of what we thought was possible.
Okay, let's start with a number, a really, really big number, 8,519 gigawatts. So what is that? Well, according to the International Renewable Energy Agency, that is how much solar power the world needs to get online by 2050 if we're serious about our climate goals. And to put that into perspective, that's an 18-fold increase from where we were back in 2018. We are talking about a monumental shift in how we power our planet. But here's the thing, the really crucial point. Getting there isn't just about cranking out more solar panels. It's about making them better. Way, way better. And that's where we run into a bit of a wall made of physics.
To really get why the new tech is so cool, we first have to understand the barrier they're trying to break. So we're going to go from that huge global challenge right down to the microscopic level, because that's where the real fight for every last drop of efficiency is happening.
This brings us to a really fundamental question. Is there a ceiling? Is there some hard limit on how much juice we can possibly squeeze out of a single ray of sunlight? And the answer, as it turns out, is a definite yes.
It's called the Shockley-Quisser limit. It was figured out way back in 1961 by a couple of brilliant physicists. Now, you should think of this as kind of like the sound barrier for a standard solar cell. It's the absolute maximum, the theoretical peak efficiency a single-layer cell can ever hope to achieve. So why isn't it 100%? Okay, this breaks it down perfectly. There are really two main culprits here. First, some of the photons from the sun, they just don't have enough oomph to knock an electron loose in the silicon. They just pass right through. And poof, that's almost 19% of the sun's energy just gone. The second one, and this is the bigger issue, is that some photons have too much energy. A high-energy blue photon, yeah, it makes electricity just fine, but all that extra energy it's carrying, it just gets wasted as heat. And that right there accounts for a massive 33% loss.
So when you do all the math and you factor everything in, you arrive at this very specific number. For a perfect single-junction silicon solar cell, the absolute unbreakable speed limit is 33.16% efficiency. For decades, the entire solar industry has been chasing this number. And now they're finding some really clever ways to get around it. All right, so let's get into our first big innovation. It's a technology called PERC. Now that stands for Passivated Emitter and Rear Contact, which sounds super complex, I know, but the idea behind it is actually brilliantly simple, and it completely changed the game. Okay, so in a traditional solar cell, once a photon knocks an electron free, that little guy can sometimes just get lost and recombine with a hole before we can capture it and turn it into electricity. This is called surface recombination, and it's a huge source of inefficiency. PERC technology tackles this problem head-on by adding a special new layer to the very back of the cell.
So here's the genius of it. That new passivation layer, it basically acts like a mirror. Any light that passes all the way through the cell without getting absorbed gets bounced right back in, giving it a second chance to create an electron. This simple little trick also helps keep the electrons from getting lost at the back surface. It is such a small change, but with a huge payoff.
So just how big a payoff are we talking about? Well, studies show that adding PERC can boost a cell's efficiency from around 19.5% to over 20.4%. Now, I know what you might be thinking. Less than 1%? That doesn't sound like a revolution. But trust me, in the world of solar, that is a massive leap. This was the elegant hack that let the industry finally, and affordably, smash right through that 20% efficiency barrier. It changed the economics of solar forever.
But of course, the innovation doesn't stop there. PERC was a huge step, but the race for efficiency is always accelerating. So, what's next on the horizon?
Well, say hello to HJT, or heterojunction technology. If PERC was a clever addition, HJT is more like a fundamental redesign. It's a hybrid, literally combining the best of two different worlds. You've got your high-efficiency crystalline silicone, and you combine it with these ultra-thin layers of amorphous silicone. It's kind of like adding a high-tech turbocharger to an already powerful engine. And this combination, it leads to some seriously impressive gains.
I mean, just look at the comparison here. HJT pushes max efficiency past 23%. It also performs way better in the heat, which is a huge deal because all solar panels lose efficiency when they get hot. And check out this last line on bifaciality. HJT cells can capture over 90% as much power from light hitting their backside as they do from the front. For big power plants, that is an absolute game changer.
And believe me, PERC and HJT, they're just the beginning. Scientists are working on even more wild ideas. Things like multi-junction cells that stack different materials to catch different colors of light, or concepts like hot electron capture that try to harvest all that extra energy from high-energy photons that's normally just lost as heat. The race is definitely on.
So, okay, we have been deep in the weeds of cell chemistry and physics. Now it's time to zoom back out and ask the most important question of all. Why does any of this matter? Right? Why obsess over these tiny fractions of a % of efficiency?
Because it all boils down to this simple but incredibly powerful equation. More efficient panels mean you need less land to get the same amount of power. You need fewer support racks, fewer cables, and less labor to install the whole thing. Every single tiny improvement at the microscopic level has this huge ripple effect that dramatically lowers the cost of clean energy for everyone.
In the real-world impact, it's staggering. According to that same IRENA report, scaling up solar power can get rid of 4.9 times gigatons of CO2 emissions every single year by 2050. That's 21% of the total cuts we need from the entire energy sector.
And you know, it's not just about the climate. It's about people. The solar industry is projected to create and support over 18.7 million jobs worldwide by 2050. This isn't just an energy transition, it's a massive economic one too.
So, the crucial takeaway is this. These tiny, almost invisible improvements, a mirror layer here, a hybrid material there, they are not just academic exercises. Every single fraction of a % we gain at the cellular level speeds up our transition to a cleaner, more sustainable planet. Which kind of leaves you with one final thought. For 60 years, that Shockley-Queisser limit seemed like this absolute unbreakable wall. And today, we're finding all these clever ways to just climb right over it. It really makes you wonder, doesn't it? With technology moving this fast, what impossible limit are we going to overcome next?